Well, last week, a Hampton man was sentenced to 8 years in prison for a 2017 rape outside of Richmond. It was a 5-day trial, but the defendant wasn't there for 1 minute.
He claims his rights were violated, but prosecutors say it was completely legal. 10 on your side's Jason Marks shows us how he was tried in absence.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Antonio Lorenzo Biggs, guilty of the crime of rape as charged in the indictment.
I went from scoring football touchdowns, like just scoring touchdowns to a cell block.
Ladies and gentlemen, having returned your verdict, it's now time to proceed to sentencing.
Everything I've been going through lately been a disaster.
Behind the brick walls and barbed wire at Pamunkey Regional Jail, the Hampton man sits, confined nearly 100 miles from home.
Being incarcerated for 8 years for a crime I didn't commit.
Antonio Biggs' tragic story has a beginning, middle, and end. It starts here at Phoebus High School.
I just loved the game of football. That was the only thing I knew.
But it was on a recruiting trip to Randolph-Macon College in September 2017 when life took a turn. Though prosecutors say the college wasn't recruiting him.
It was a good experience until later on that night.
Biggs spent the day with a college co-ed.
He taught us around college campus pretty much the whole day. She gave me her number.
It's this point, the middle of the story, when things get a bit muddled.
I remember sitting on the couch, and then everything's kind of in and out.
That's the victim, which 10 on your side has chosen not to identify. She told the jury she was out drinking with friends when Biggs showed up. She says he asked if he could crash at her place. He says he was invited back.
The next thing I remember is waking up and the defendant was on top of me. He stopped, he got off of me, and I was just kind of in a state of shock. I was kind of frozen and I didn't move. And I felt someone pull my underwear back on.
A year later, Biggs was arrested, charged with rape.
I told myself, like, I don't have nothing to hide, so we're just gonna prove my innocence.
Biggs claims the sex was consensual. He would spend the next 17 months in jail. April 2020, he was given a bond because of COVID. That December, his bond was revoked.
He was supposed to have been on house arrest with a GPS monitor with no access to social media. And as it turns out, he was not only accessing social media, he was all over the Tidewater area, even so far north as New York and Washington, D.C.
Biggs' trial was set for February, and U.S. Marshals went looking for him. They weren't able to track him down.
We didn't know when he would be found.
No, he wasn't hiding. I mean, he's a 19-year-old young man. He has no resources. Where can he hide? He's not Pablo Escobar.
So the trial began.
Stand there, raise your right hand, please.
The jury heard from lots of voices.
Did you want to have sex with the defendant on September 28th or 29th or any time?
No.
The only one they didn't hear from was Biggs himself, because he wasn't there for 1 minute of the 5-day trial.
None of it at all. And I couldn't even face my accuser or see the jury. They couldn't see my face. They couldn't see me face to face.
Attorney Stephen Washington is now on Biggs' case. He was retained after the trial.
Can't make it up. I've never seen nothing like that before.
Prosecutors say Biggs knew when the trial was and chose not to show up, though he says he had lost confidence in the attorney and was scared. The court felt like there was no other choice but to start without him.
The decision to try someone in their absence, as we talked about, is incredibly unusual and never ever a decision to be taken lightly. We have a duty to do justice.
Which brings Biggs' story to an end. Marshals found him 11 days after his trial. Last week, a judge sentenced him to 8 years in prison.
This was a non-student who came to campus, we believe, with the sole purpose of finding someone to have sex with that night.
God is willing that this conviction get overturned, and I guess to walk out these doors.
Jason Marks reporting there. We're told Biggs plans to file an appeal in his case.